Hello students, so let's try to understand here how is that we are going to write programs with the help of classes and objects. So in the previous session we discussed about what exactly we mean by a class and an object. So here we'll write a program with the help of a class and object. So once again, if I have to repeat, class is wherein we talk about group of objects, and an object is which possess some properties and the functionality. One among a class or instance of a class, you can call it as an object. So class is something which is in general. When you talk in general, like we said in the previous, four-wheeler is called as a class, is an example of a class, whereas a Maruti car is an example of an object. Reason being, four-wheeler, when I say, you may have multiple cars in that, but when you talk in specific, you can call it as an object like Maruti car and so on. So before or whenever you want to write a program with the help of classes and objects, what all you need to do is you are supposed to specify here or declare a class over here in this fashion. You are supposed to use the term class, and then you are supposed to write some name for the class. It can be any name of your of your choice. Your class should end with a semicolon over there. So this is the beginning of the class and this indicates the end of the class over there. And as we said, a class contains data members and a class contains member functions. So when you talk about data members, it is nothing but the variables that you are going to make use of in a class, and when you talk about member functions, these are nothing but the functions that you want to define in a particular class. So when you want to write a program with the help of a class, the first thing you need to do is you are supposed to specify a class name by using a term called class. So this can be called as user defined data type, because a class is defined by the user and it can be specific to the user also. Now for example, say I want to have a class called student, wherein I want to store the marks of the student, name of the student along with the roll number of the student. So when you talk about a class as we said consists of data members, and a class consists of member functions. All these members which are present in a class, basically all these are by default, they are all private members. So what exactly we mean by private members? Meaning of that is all the data members of the class and all the member functions of the class, they are private in nature, which means all these members of the class I cannot access outside the class and so on. So I cannot have access to these members from outside the class and so on. So in order to make access from outside the class, what all we need to do is we are supposed to change this private access specifier. We call it as access specifier. We'll get into details of that. And we have three different access specifiers over there. One we call it as private, the other one we call it as public, and the other one we call it as protected. So these are the three different access specifiers we have in C++. So when you are not specifying any kind of access specifiers, by default it is taken as a private access specifier. So this is the default one. So if you are not mentioning before a data member or a member function any access specifier, then it is treated as private access specifier. It is taken as private member or private function, which means that particular member you cannot access it from outside the class. So if I cannot access it outside the class, it is something like having a house constructed with whole of the compound wall surrounded, and there is no room or a space for the gate. So which means what? Neither a person from outside nor a person from inside can go out of the house or can come from outside the house and so on. So then this is not feasible. So what is that we need to do? We need to create a space so that people can come in and people can go out. In the similar way, in case of your class also, we are supposed to specify some of the members as public and some of the members as private, and in case required, some of them can be declared as protected. We'll get into details of these access specifiers very soon. So to understand in brief, private is something which you cannot access from outside the class, and public is something which you can access it from anywhere. The reason we say public garden, which means what? It is accessible to any person, any human being. Any human being can enter into a public garden. When I say private garden, no one is supposed to enter. Only the members who maintain probably may work with that and so on. So what we are trying to say over here is, by default all the members of the class are private in nature. So if everything is private, you may not be able to work with a class. So what we are going to do is, certain things in a class we make it as public and certain things we make it as private. We'll get into details of this very soon. So what I am going to do here, I am going to specify here the name of the student. I want to accept the name of the student, so I'll declare a variable for that. Name, character name of 20. I want to access or accept the value for a roll number, so I'll say roll number of 10. Similarly, I want to accept the marks, so I'll declare marks as integer over there. As it is a number, I will declare it as integer and so on. So these are the data members of a class. So you can write any data type over here, and then you can declare n number of variables over here, nothing but the properties of the class and so on. Similarly, you can have some functions in a class, and you can write the functions as void. You can have a function name called, say, accept, and what is that you are going to do over here? You are going to say, you are going to accept the values for the variables that you want. You can say enter roll number, name along with the marks, and then you can say scene, name, roll number and marks. So this is how you are going to accept the values for the variables that you have, or for the data member that you have declared in a particular class. Now you see a red color line over here wherever you make use of cin, cout as well and else statement. So this is because we need to include some of the libraries over here, some of the header files over here. Like you are supposed to say hash include IO stream, as you say stdio, and then you are supposed to make use of a namespace, what do you call it as std. So whereby you find no errors when you make use of cin, cout, endl and so on. So what we have done so far, we have written a class. As I told you, you are supposed to make use of the term class followed by the name of the class over there, and then you are supposed to declare the data members over there, followed by you can have n number of functions within a class. So I am going to have one more function over here. One is to accept the data and the other one is to display the data. So what is that I am going to do here? I am going to display all that you have accepted. So I will say scene name as name, cout, you say roll number RNO, cout you say marks as marks and so on, and that completes your class over here. So what is that I have done in a class? If you see over here, what I have written in a class, I have declared some variables over there, nothing but your data members over there, and then I have written a function called accept, which is going to accept the data that you want, and then I have declared here a function called display, which is going to display what all you have accepted. So thereby you close the class with the help of a semicolon. Now here I have not used any keyword like private, public, protected, and so on. So as I told you, if you are not going to mention anything like private, public, or protected, then everything in your class is treated as private. Okay, let's see what the problem we face then. After you write the class, you are supposed to make use of a function called main, wherein whenever you want to access any of the members of the class, what all you need to do is you are supposed to create an object over here. So when I say I want to store the marks of the class, so when I say I want to store the marks of the class, it doesn't mean that I am going to store the marks for the class. It means I am going to store the marks for individual students in the class. So what all you need to do for that? Individual student, when I say, it is an object. So what all you need to do there? You are supposed to create an object of the class. How is that we are going to create an object? You are supposed to write the name of the class followed by the name of an object. As it is a user defined data type, you can specify here the name followed by the name of the object, name of the class followed by name of the object. This is where you talk about creating an object of the class. And the rule to access the members of the class, you need to say object name dot function name. So you are supposed to write like this, object name dot function name. What it means for us? It means that whenever your program executes, it starts execution from the main function. And then what exactly is happening in the main function? You are creating an object, and then with the help of an object, you are trying to call the functions which are present in a class. So you can call the functions in whatever sequence you like. The way the functions are written in a class is not going to matter for us. The functions are going to execute as per the call that you make in a main function. So I am calling the accept function first. So what happens? This particular function has to execute. Later your display function has to execute over there. But if you see over here, for this accept and display function, you are getting some error over there. There is some underline which has come over here. Now when I try to execute this particular program, let's see what kind of errors you get. You are bound to get two errors over there. Yes, two errors. Why these two errors? You can clearly see here, accept is declared as a private member. Similarly, display is declared as a private member. So what all we have done is, everything in a class we kept it as private, which means from outside the class you don't have any chance to call that particular member. So for that reason, what normally we do is we keep all the data members as private, and then we make the member functions as public. How is that you are going to make the functions as public? You are supposed to write here a keyword public followed by a colon, and then you are supposed to write the functions over there. So what all you write after the keyword use called public, everything is going to be treated as public over there. That means you can access this function called accept and the function called display from outside the class. So now when I try to execute this particular program, now the program executes and it requests you to enter the name of the student followed by the roll number of the student followed by the marks of the student. That is because you have called the accept function first. So this function executes which requests you, and then it takes the value and then it will display the value, because after this what you have done is you have called the function called display over there. So this is how you are going to have a function called accept and a function called display getting executed. So things that you need to remember whenever you are creating or writing a program with the help of a class, you are supposed to use a keyword over there called class followed by the name of the class. A name of the class can be any name of your choice. In a class you are supposed to have the data members, nothing but the variables that you want to declare, and then you can have some functions in a class. So whenever you are having the data members and member functions, what all you need to do is you are supposed to make the functions of the class as public, whereas you are supposed to keep these data members as private. So we'll explore the reasons why the data members has to be private and why the member functions has to be public when we discuss about various access specifiers over there. And then once you complete the class, you are supposed to write a function called main, because your program starts execution from this. And then, as we know, in order to access the members of the class, you are supposed to create an object of the class. So creation of an object is like declaring a particular variable. Like you say integer a. In the similar way, here you are supposed to say class name followed by an object name. And then with the help of this object, you are supposed to call the function of your choice. It can be in any sequence, not in the sequence, or it is not compulsory to maintain the sequence as it is written over there. So this is how you can write a program wherein it makes use of classes and objects. So there may be a question to us in the examination saying describe or define or specify the structure of a class. So you are going to specify the structure, you are going to specify there what are the various access specifiers over there, and then how is that you are going to work with a particular class and so on. So when you talk about a structure, it is basically a class which consists of data members, which consists of member functions, and by default everything is taken as private. So this is what you are going to write over there. So we'll try to go with more programs, more examples in our next session over there.